Today, I am super excited. In this episode, I'm going to be talking with Rachel Reiter about the importance of aligning your life vision with your brand vision. And this is a topic that I'm really excited for because I think it's an area that I could learn more about. And that's why I'm really super excited to have Rachel here and share her wisdom and knowledge. And Rachel Reiter, I met Rachel a little while ago, and she's a brand stylist and mentor. I've met online. We haven't met face to face as yet. But Rachel does work very closely with online entrepreneurs to create heartfelt brand personalities that align with their purpose-led vision through one-on-one services and her programs, which really guide and support passionate women in business to cultivate an authentic, intentional brand. She's also an incredible mum of 4 daughters, which always blows me away because one daughter was, challenging for me. But anyone with multiple children always inspires me, let alone ones that are running their business. So without further ado, I would love to give a big warm welcome to Rachel Reiter. Welcome to the Coaching Circle podcast.
Well, thank you. That was lovely. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, it's fabulous to have you here. And like I said, we've been connected online and I think through some Facebook groups for some time now. And I'm a big fan of your work and I follow, what you've been doing, and you've been running a boot camp challenge this week that I've been in, and it's amazing. So, but what I would just love to start with, Rachel, is what is it that led you to get into branding and start your business? Why is this important to you?
Wow, that's oh my gosh, I could probably speak for hours. It's a pretty long, it's a long-winded story. But so I guess I studied graphic design at university, and I did a combined degree that included marketing. So my work has always been strategy-based design. And I, after working in the corporate world for a few years, I just sort of stumbled across the freelance life and kind of loved it and accidentally built a business. And so it led me to, quit my full-time job and be working as a freelance graphic designer in a business that I kind of accidentally fell into it, and then I sort of made it a thing, and, so then I had my children a number of years after that. So I was already working at home before I had any babies, which was amazing.
Yeah.
I had very minimal responsibilities really, and my life was my own, and I just worked when I wanted to. And so I already had a taste of that freedom. Even though my business was very general in what I was offering, and it sort of didn't have that underlying purpose that I have now. But I I had a taste of the good life. And so after that, there's no way that I would ever be employed ever again. I don't think anyone would want me anyway. But then, so then I had my babies, and I took a little bit of a break during that time. And I came to the point where something happens when you become a mother. I don't know what it is. Something really changed in me, and I didn't want to do something that wasn't purposeful, that didn't mean something. And I wanted to show my girls that they could have meaning and purpose in what they do in their life, with their life as well. Also knowing that, because I had been just a stay-at-home mum solely for a number of years, that knowing that the time that was going to take away from me doing that and spending dedicated time with them, to me, it had to be meaningful, because otherwise, I'd be sacrificing time with my children for I don't know, for a bit of cash. I don't know. And that's, to me, that wasn't enough to give me the motivation. So after a lot of soul searching, I sat down with myself and I asked myself, what was it from my previous business that I just loved, that I loved so much? And it came down to crafting brands for other purpose-led women in business. And because I had been doing a little bit of that, just not all of that. So that's what I put my time in and attention into. And here I am.
Yeah, that is fabulous. And Rachel, I have to agree. I really love that you were doing the work from home or doing your own gig from home before you even had kids, because that is the ultimate. Like I'm doing that at the other end, because my daughter was like starting high school when I first went into my business, and now she's left home. So I've got the no kids at home.
Yes.
I've got the no kids at home. I've got the aging pets. That's the only thing I've got at home.
Yes.
But it is such a good thing. And I completely resonate with that. I don't know. I couldn't go back into a job. I don't know who would have me. I wouldn't fit into that box anymore. It's a big thing, isn't it, when you move? But I think, what you were saying about just needing to do something really purposeful. I think I really liked what you said there about, once you have kids, something shifts in that way, because I think when it comes to purpose, right? A lot of people talk about what is my purpose. There's always purpose in what you do. And I think for a lot of people, they go, oh, and this isn't everyone, I get that. But a lot of people go, well, I just want to look after my kids, or I want to make sure I'm spending time with my kids and doing my other stuff. But is that just looking after kids? But there's a lot of purpose in raising children, right? Because you think about that, ultimately, what do you want to be able to do is raise, responsible, independent, fun, well-grounded humans that have a positive impact on the planet, right? And enjoy their time. Yeah. And that doesn't happen by accident either.
No. And I love that. And that's something that's really important to me. And that I guess having the business and having the flexibility in my business that I have, I believe is what allows me to have that time with my kids as they're growing up that a lot of parents don't have the privilege of having. And I'm so grateful for that, because I don't even know the way that I parent, the way that we operate as a family. I don't even know that I could hold down a job.
Yeah. I know. I remember when my daughter was born, I was at home with her for a couple of years, but then when I went back to work, I remember saying, like, I don't ever plan on going back to full-time work again.
Yeah.
And it was just a decision I made. I had no way of knowing that was actually could be my reality.
Yeah.
But it was just a decision that I made, because I was like, you know what, I probably didn't have awareness of it then, but there was just more. I knew that there was more that I could be doing than just being in somebody else's business full time.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's just making that decision, isn't it? That you don't have to figure out how you're going to do it just yet, but just knowing that that's a boundary, and that's how we're going to operate. And and sort of just taking the steps as they come. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about how you help people. So if you were to explain brand, right, in the most simple terms, what would that be like?
Yeah. Okay. So your brand is basically what your audience or people in general, anyone that comes into contact with your products or your offers or your personal brand, that sort of thing, how they're feeling, what's their gut reaction to that. So basically, in like a really tiny little nutshell, your brand is your reputation. So a lot of people think logo, design, colors, and that's sort of part of the branding process, because that's sort of strategically how you can influence how people are feeling about your brand. So it's all about, for me, evoking emotion and feeling with the elements that we're using to draw people in. But ultimately, your brand is how people are thinking, feeling, and talking about your offers and your products.
Yes. Yeah, it's really interesting when we think about that, because I will have to put my hand up and say, obviously following your stuff and doing some of your things, I've been opening up my awareness to this, but I would always go brand, logo. Oh my God, I should really update that.
Yes.
Like, that's because, like, having, I admit I've had the same logo for like the last 8 years or something, probably. But it's so much more than that. And I think, we're like, I guess essentially what you're saying, Rachel, is that you have a brand, whether you're consciously doing something about that or not, right?
Exactly. Yes. 100%. And I sort of feel like, the way that your brand is represented shows to your audience how important it is to you and how confident you are in your business. So if you have a logo that you designed in 5 minutes on Canva, it's kind of saying to me, well, you don't really care about your business, so why should I care about your business?
Oh, I felt that one. I didn't actually design my logo.
That was not a personal attack.
I didn't actually design my. I did go to a designer for my logo, but it's obviously a trigger point for me. But yeah, that is such an important thing, right? I think it's and this can be the same about how we present ourselves in any kind of form, isn't it? Like if you're just I'm gonna call myself out. If you're just like getting around, I go to a lot of networking events and stuff like that. And if I was just rocking up to them in my like leggings and sloppy trackies and whatever else, and just my hair up, unless I was like a PT or something, that's part of my brand, right?
Exactly.
Like how people would see them and it'd be like, oh, okay, this is in alignment. So it's anything that you're putting out online is communicating that to people.
Every detail, any little thing, even if it's a comment that you make on another social media post, or how you're showing up in your Instagram stories, all of these things, they compound, they build together. Like it's almost just like they're building that big picture. It's like when you first meet somebody new, subconsciously you're judging them. Like you can't help it. You're judging them from past experiences. You're judging them from, your perception of what they're wearing, whether or not it's, something that you would wear, or, I would never get away with, all these little things that go through our minds. Everybody judges a book by its cover. It's just, it's in human nature. Like it's just what we do. We can't help it because we have all these things that we draw upon. We're going through our lives, and ultimately it sort of ends up coming back to us and how we respond and react to things. And that's why it's also just so important to be in tune with, your audience and your perfect people, who's going to be the most aligned person for what you've got to offer, so that you can then show up in a way that's going to be attractive to them. So if you can show up with confidence for those people, they're going to feel that confidence. And it in every single communication point, I guess, every single touch point. So touch points are not just your color palette being consistent, or that's important. It's not just your typography being consistent, although that's important. It's not just your messaging and your language that's important, but that's
they all add on to each other.
Everything works together.
Yes.
It's this big ecosystem machine that kind of just, that's got all these different working parts. Most businesses have only tapped into a couple of those working parts.
It's really interesting that you say that, Rachel, because I was at a thing a little while ago. I think it was Joe Parnay, and he was saying there's 3 questions, and I'm going to put myself on the spot to actually, if I remember these questions now off the top of my head, but one of them was, 3 questions that everyone's asking when they first meet you. And it's like, one of them is like, can I trust you? So it's like, are you showing up, in an emotionally consistent type of way? Like, do you keep showing up consistently? Like, are you, do you know what you're talking about? Like, are you an expert, or do you continue learning and growing and, in the field where you're at and what you say that you know about? And I think the third one was like, do you care about me? Like, how do you treat other people? Are you going to treat me well, and that kind of stuff? And I guess that kind of ties into this same sort of brand thing, right?
Yes, it really does.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants to be seen, heard, and validated. And that includes your potential customers, whether you sell soap or like sports cars.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, that is really important. So I think, having this conversation, Rachel, I think it's really valuable. But one of the things that just popped to my mind, because I know a lot of the people that I work with have fears around visibility, right? So as much as we're sort of saying, all of these things are important about how you show up online, what would you say to the people that are like, oh my God, I don't want to like damage my brand, or I don't want to say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing or whatever? Because like, I even know, like you were saying about even the things that you comment, I have people screenshot things. I laughed at a meme that I thought was funny, and I had someone screenshot my reaction and send it to me and say, I don't think, I'm surprised that you reacted at this. Right? Like, because people do watch what you do, right? And I was okay with that because I know why I thought it was funny, and it's not out of, integrity or anything with my beliefs. But what would you say to the people that sort of going, oh my God, like, I have to get everything perfect?
Yeah, this is the thing. This is the other thing, is that we also, as like, it's also human nature to be drawn to humanness, like I call it awesomeness. So,
what was that word?
Flawsomeness.
Oh, flawsomeness. Yes. I like that. Flawsome. Absolutely flawsome. There's a song in it.
Yeah. You don't have to be perfect. Like, you don't have to show up perfectly, but you need to show up emotively, consistently, and sort of, I guess, intentionally for your audience to represent what your brand means to them. Does that make sense? So it doesn't matter if you make a typo necessarily. It doesn't matter if you, don't have high heels and a blazer on. Like, you just need to be in alignment with your brand.
So it's like congruency with who you are and how you show up.
Keeping that integrity, I guess.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that, that you have to be perfect. Nobody's perfect. Nothing's perfect.
Yeah.
Impossible. Yeah.
And it's really, I love that, Rachel, because I know for me, like, I do a lot of stuff. And sometimes I don't give myself enough prep. But I'm kind of okay. We were talking about winging it before. I'm always like, I'm pretty good at winging it, but it's really like I trust myself to draw on my knowledge and experience to get things done.
Yeah.
But in that, sometimes I delivered something for my Elevate group the other week, and I was finishing off the slides at like 7:00 the night before, delivering it the next morning.
Yeah.
And I was just banging through stuff. And by the time we got to the end of the day of training on the slides, you can see some of my spelling mistakes. And I'm going, you probably noticed a couple of spelling mistakes, but a big thing that I have with my guys is done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Right? And they're like, I'm so glad. I always love it when I see, like, they say to me, I love it when I see your mistakes, Toni, because it lets me know that it's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to be perfect. You can still get results without being perfect.
And that's relatable as well. And that's a huge part of building a strong brand too, having that connection and those relatability points with your audience. So I'm not saying that you need to show up. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. It just means, like, but even if with the typo, you're there confidently delivering what you promised in a way that is consistent with how you usually show up and your brand, and they're receiving the transformation. So it's not like that couple of typos is going to have a detrimental, it's not like they're going to have give you a negative review, but it's also giving a point of relatability.
Yeah, it's that consistency over time. I think that's the key thing, isn't it? It's like, I guess the 80-20 rule fits in with a lot of this stuff. It's like, as long as you're on the mark 80% of the time at least.
I think so. And especially with, when it is sort of like an online business or a mum running a business at home, or, it's not like we're Coca-Cola or Nike or something. Yeah. I think we have to give ourselves some grace for that.
With like teams of people.
Yes, exactly. They've got like a whole marketing department. They've got a whole branding department. It's different.
Yeah.
And that's why I love, I think, serving heart-aligned brands, is that it's there is that more human element, and the audience responds to that.
That's what they're after. I remember hearing once that HubSpot, HubSpot, the CRM, whatever else they do, they have a whole team of people, or a team of people that all they do is create lead magnets.
Wow.
Right.
Can you imagine? Oh, it's a dream.
I know, right? I'm unreal. Well, Rachel, I would love to know, because, like we said, we're dealing with, you're serving people like often solopreneurs and things, and women or mums or whatever, who are working, running their business from home, possibly. But, you know, as being a woman yourself in business and a mum and doing that, like, what are the kinds of challenges? Because I ask this question because I know, like, a lot of my clients that I work with, they feel like when they have challenges that they're the only one having them. Because, you know, I think we all do tend to give the best of ourselves online, which, you know, people have different comments about that. I think, well, I'm not going to sit here and tell everyone about all my problems because they're only ever temporary. And I deal with them and sort them out. But it does sometimes have people lead to think that they're the only person with problems. So I would love to know, would you mind sharing with us, you know, what has been some of maybe the biggest challenges that you've had in business?
Yeah, well, time.
Yeah.
The perception that you don't have enough time, which is a perception. We all have the same amount of time.
Yeah.
And I guess prioritizing, because my family is so important to me. There are seasons when I have felt like the business is taking, like, because the business is my fifth baby. Like, it's so it's part of who I am now. I'm going to start crying. Like, it's just I love my business. I love what I do so much.
Yeah.
But when you are a mum, and like my husband is amazing. Like, he's incredibly supportive. He's the breadwinner of our family. And we made that decision together that I would be the primary at-home person. And I'm totally on board with that. But sometimes, like, those family things take priority and it feels like the business is just forgotten. And, you know, there's the perception from my end, and this not so much now, we've got through that. But in the early stages, it's sort of like, well, nobody cares about what I'm doing. Like, you know, it sort of feels like it's the leftover. And I don't like feeling like that. So there's that as well, that frustration, I guess, that you also, like, there's frustration that when you've got a young family and you've got a business, a growing, fledgling business, you want it to grow, but it's almost like your hands are tied. So there's that as well that have had to find my peace with and be okay with slow growing. Now that my girls are a little older, I'm sort of like, well, I'm grateful for that, because if the business had scaled beyond and I had a massive team or whatever, I wouldn't have the flexibility and the time that I have been able to pour into those girls.
Yeah.
As they grow up so fast.
Yes, I know. Tell me about it now that I've got
kind of like, slow down, business.
Yeah.
I've got things to do over here.
I know. It's like when your kids are young, it seems like it goes forever, but then all of a sudden it's going really fast. And like I've had this year, last month, my 20-year-old suddenly moved to Hamilton Island. I was like, oh my God, what happened? But it does, it goes so fast. But I really, do you know what? I really love that. And I think especially, you know, for women in business, I think I've been like focusing a lot recently on the feminine power and the creativity, and how women, whatever they get, they expand, they magnify, they, you know, they grow. And just like you were saying with children, it is very much the same with business as well, right? You're nurturing this business, you're growing this business, you're magnifying this business. And it was really interesting. Recently, someone said to me, oh, like, what do you do for hobbies? And I said, look, when I make time, I like to do art and, you know, draw and stuff. And they're like, oh, is that your creative outlet? And I went, do you know what? I think my business is actually my creative outlet, right? Like, that's why I don't make so much time for doing art, like painting and drawing stuff, because there's so much creativity in business.
Yeah.
I
relate to that.
Oh, that's awesome. So time, I think time is a big one. And I think especially like you were saying, you know, when you've got young children, it can, you know, and I find this, it's not always just with young children as well. Like, I'm finding some of my clients now have got aging parents as well that are needing more help. And it can often be this thing about, like what you were saying, you know, like, what about my needs? Go through that kind of time, because we just get caught up in doing for others. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, it sounds like you've been able to work through that in ways that have been, really good for you, Rachel. And I'm sure it's like a continuing thing where there's always adjustments that happen.
Absolutely. There's always adjustments. Seasons change all the time, don't they? And we're always having to like adapt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. And so, we spoke about challenges, but what would you say you feel like is the most rewarding thing about your business? What keeps you going?
I think seeing the confidence that a really strong brand foundation and then subsequently the surface level stuff, like all of the communication and the pretty things, the confidence that that gives a business owner to get out there and market their business seamlessly with confidence, because they know that everything's in alignment with where they want to be heading and in alignment with attracting their audience. And I think seeing that just lights me up so much. Like, I worked with a lady earlier in the year, and we completely renamed her business. We rebranded it. We brought it into alignment with this super refined niche that she had been planning. She kept sort of putting off the rebranding process. And this happens too. Like, it's almost like a big mindset hurdle that you have to wrap your head around to really make that decision to rebrand. And then the rebranding process does bring up all these things, imposter syndrome, all these things. Anyway, so she did that and we did it. And now she's just on fire. Like, she's unstoppable. She's just in all these different expos and appearing on podcasts. She never had the confidence to do that before. And just, yeah, that's just one story. But just that, just to know that I had a small part in that. It's like a background role. I'm certainly a cheerleader and a supporter. That's kind of, what lights me up. So that would definitely be it.
Yeah, I do you know what, when you were saying about that, it just really, to me, it hit me when you're saying about the imposter syndrome and those kinds of things, because it's a real identity piece, right?
It is. Yeah.
Like your brand, it's like you're saying, this is who I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially because we were talking about, our solopreneurs, heart aligned people, like we really care about what we do, and my clients care about what they do. And I feel like when they're handing me their brand, they're handing me a piece of their soul. Like, I don't take that lightly. Like, it's part of who they are, and they have to resonate with it. We're not working with big, massive companies here. It's not about sales targets and marketing departments. It's more than that. It goes deeper than that. And there has to sort of be, I think of it as the business owner and like what we present to them at the end with their brand. It has to be like a really straight line between those. There can't be any kind of doubt or niggly feelings for them. Even if I believe that what we're presenting is going to attract their perfect audience, they need to be on board with it. Otherwise, what's the point? Like, they need to be like, yes, this is me, this is who we are, so that they have got that confidence.
Yeah, I love that. And, I think, Rachel, this ties in really well because, one of the big things I know you talk about is how you align your life vision with your brand vision.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about that and what that really means?
Yeah. Well, I think that it's important to me, because I've seen how it's worked for me, that creating a vision for your life first and foremost, and how you want to be as a person, how you want to be as a mother, as a friend, as a sister, or whatever, in the world, like finding your place there and what you want your days to look like, how you want to have an impact in the world, and then building your brand vision to fit in with that personal vision helps you to stay accountable in your business, with like things like boundaries and keeping on board with your mission and why you're there, and making decisions for the business that aren't going to take you in a direction that one day in 10 years you kind of sit there and go, what happened to my life? So that to me is probably one of the most important steps of my process and my branding process, is help people to understand that the reality sometimes of what they think they want in a brand vision is not truly what they want. And to discover that and give them that endpoint to work towards, then we can sort of step back and put those stepping stones in place, starting with the brand identity and how that's going to get you to that endpoint that you really want to be.
Yeah, I really love that, because I think it's all to do with being in alignment, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like, I often say to people as part of the training that I do, like if people meet me, whether it's in the training room or outside the training room, it's going to be pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Like in who they meet,
Yeah.
and what I'm about and what I do. And I think that really helps me feel like when I'm in my business, I'm congruent in my business, right?
Yeah.
Like it's that kind of thing. But I think as well, I think I like, how you're talking about it as well. Is it even just what are your days how do you want your days to look like? What, like you said, boundaries, all those kinds of things, that they're all aligned so that you feel like, I am actually creating the life and business I want, rather than having some monster that I'm trying to wrangle.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's an energy thing too. Like, if your business is not, it's not really reflective of, of who you are, it's going to take so much more energy to try and show up for that business. Like, I just can't even imagine how exhausting that would be. Whereas I'm the same as you. People meet me online. It's the same as when they meet me in real life. I'm no different. And that's, to me, that's easy.
Yes.
Be easy.
Yeah, it is. So I love that. It's easy, because I think, one of the things I love, I talk about this, is that we go from making complex solutions to simple problems to making simple solutions to complex problems. And the complex is all the stories and the doubts and the limiting beliefs and every other kind of thing that makes things hard and complicated and everything else like that. It's really, if you strip it all back and just get to the truth of who you are, what's important to you, what do you really want to do in the world, how do you want to live, it makes things a whole lot more simple, right?
It really does. It just becomes so clear then.
Amazing. Rachel, I just really love this conversation for my own benefit, I think, as much as for the people that are probably listening. But I think, I would love to know, like, if there was one thing that you think would be the most important message that you would like people to get around how to think about their brand that could really help them make it, like a business changing decision, what do you think that would be?
Oh, I guess it depends where they're at. But really, I really do think it's having that really clear end goal. Like, what is this? What is it? What is it? Who is it for? And how does it help them?
Yeah. So is that would be, I guess, as well, when we talk about not being a generalist and being more, specific about what it is that you do.
Yeah. And people get really afraid of being clear, but the more you can narrow down your message and your language and who you're speaking to, that just becomes like the beacon becomes brighter. Whereas if you're more general in what you're offering, your message is really diluted. So people just glaze over, like they don't know that you're even speaking to them. So the more specific you can be, even though it feels a bit scary and you feel like you're cutting away a lot of your market share, it's actually has a greater impact.
Yeah. I really believe that too, Rachel, and not that you need me to believe you, but like from the perspective of that, I think if you hear someone talk really clearly about a problem that they solve or who they help, you get what it is that they do, and you can then map across to how that might relate to you in a different aspect. Or like you see them, it's easy to see them as an expert because it's really clear about what they do, and you automatically think that they can probably do more things because of how they've positioned themselves and how clearly they're speaking about.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Fabulous. Well, as much as I feel like I could keep talking with you, Rachel, we better start wrapping this up. But one of the things I always love to ask people, because often, when we're working in business, it can be easy to get caught up in, you know, like just doing business. And I would love to know, what is it that you do outside of your business for fun?
Oh, that's such a hard question. And we sort of joked about this earlier because I'm in the trenches. I have got 4 kids. So, but something that I do love doing is once I drop the girls off at school, I try to do it every morning. Obviously, it doesn't work out every morning. I go for a run or I go for a walk with my podcast. And I always have to see the beach. Like I just love being near the water and I love being at the beach. So that's kind of my thing at the moment. I've got lots of other creative hobbies that are lying dormant in this season of my life, which I'm totally fine with. But that's something I love to do. And I love to read. I just love reading novels. That helps me to relax and escape. And
not like fiction type stuff.
Yeah, fiction.
Yeah, I do. I love a good, I probably don't read physical books as much, but audibles, like if you go through my audibles, there's heaps of business stuff, but then there's all kinds of random just fiction stuff that I can just get lost in. It's amazing. I love that, Rachel. But I think, you know, that's one of the good things though, like, right, about having your own business is that if you want to go for a walk in the morning by the beach every day, like that's literally something you can create for yourself.
I do it. Exactly. And if I don't do it in the morning, quite often, like if I've got a meeting in the morning that I can't get out, I don't try and schedule meetings early that morning. This is all about the boundaries, all right? I'll go after lunch. Like I'll just go, I'll do my meeting and I'll do whatever I need to tick off for the day. And I'll think, well, I've still got a couple of hours before I have to do school pickup. I'm going to ignore my house and I'm going to go and do that thing for myself.
Yeah, I think that is such a good thing, that when you realize that the benefits that you have of a business owner is just like, I can go and get my nails done now because I've got time, or I can book in to get my hair done, or I can go for a walk after lunch because, you know, I can change my time around. I love that, Rachel.
Mind how many people in business that have created a business at home so that they can have that freedom don't feel like they can do those things. Like they're still conditioned with the employment mindset. And I think because I've been out of that for so long, I don't even bat an eyelid anymore. I just do what I want when I want to do it.
It's high on my priorities that anytime I need to do any grocery shopping, hair appointments, or anything else like that, that I don't have to do it on weekends or late nights. Yeah.
How wonderful. Like the best.
Oh, good. Well, Rachel, I would love to know. That's fun, right? That is fun. I would love to know, can you just share with us, how is the best way for people to get in touch with you, and where can they find you, and, you know, what have you got that would, you know, people might want to jump on board with?
Yeah, sure. Well, I do hang out on Instagram probably too much, to be honest. Rachel Reiter _brand mentor is where you can find me, or you can just head to my website, rachelreiter.com, have a poke around there. There's lots of fun, creative things going on over there, and grab yourself a branding success blueprint. That is a freebie to download there. If you're interested in learning like the basics of my branding process, and get in touch there if you want to as well. I'd love to hear from you.
Amazing, Rachel. And of course, I'll put all the links in the show notes under this episode as well. So do go and check out Rachel. She's amazing. And I've loved having you on the coaching circle, Rachel. Thank you so much. It's been a great, really learning experience for my own benefit, and really great learning more about you and your business. So thank you for being a wonderful guest.
Oh, thank you so much, Toni. I've loved it.
Fabulous.